Rain hammered the empty street like a warning from the sky, sirens flickering in the distance, when everything changed in a single, breathless moment. A man who had already lost too much was about to find himself standing at the edge of another loss, and what his dog did next would leave even the strongest hearts shaken. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected heroes, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. It helps stories like this reach the people who need them most. The night smelled of wet asphalt and regret. Armin had just finished his late shift, his body heavy with exhaustion, his mind drifting back to the small apartment where his 6-year-old son slept peacefully, unaware of the struggles his father carried every day. Being a single dad wasn't something Armin had planned. Life had taken his wife too soon, leaving him with silence, responsibility, and a promise he refused to break, to be strong no matter what. Beside him walked Bruno, his German shepherd, the only companion who understood the weight Armin carried without needing words. Bruno wasn't just a dog. He was family, protector, and sometimes, the only reason Armin found the strength to keep going. As they turned into a narrow alley to take a shortcut home, Bruno suddenly stopped. Not hesitated, stopped. His ears stiffened, his body alert, his low growl cutting through the rain. Armin frowned, tightening his grip on the leash, sensing something wrong. That's when he saw her. A female police officer lay slumped against the cold brick wall, her uniform soaked, her arms streaked with blood. Her head tilted to the side, eyes half open but fading fast, like someone holding on to life by a thread that was already unraveling. For a second, Armin froze. This wasn't his world. Trouble, crime, danger, he had spent years trying to stay far away from all of it. He had a son to go home to. He had responsibilities. He couldn't afford to get involved. But then she moved, barely. And that was enough. He rushed to her side, his heart pounding louder than the rain. Her pulse was weak, her breathing shallow. Blood continued to drip from her arm, pooling on the ground like time slipping away. Armin looked around desperately. No one. Just shadows, rain, and silence. He pulled out his phone to call for help, his fingers trembling, but before he could even press the numbers, Bruno did something that would change everything. The dog stepped forward, closer to the officer, sniffing the air around her. Then, without warning, Bruno let out a loud, sharp bark, one that echoed down the alley and into the empty streets beyond. Armin tried to calm him, but Bruno didn't stop. He barked again. Louder. Fiercer. Then he broke free. Armin shouted, panic rising in his chest as Bruno sprinted into the darkness, disappearing into the rain. For a moment, fear gripped him. He couldn't lose Bruno too. Not tonight. Not like this. But Bruno wasn't running away. He was running toward something. Minutes felt like hours as Armin stayed with the injured officer, pressing his jacket against her wound, whispering words she probably couldn't hear. The rain soaked them both, turning everything cold, heavy, desperate. Then, suddenly, sirens. Closer. Louder. Urgent. Armin looked up, confusion flashing across his face, and then he saw it. Bruno. Running ahead of a police car, barking relentlessly, refusing to slow down until the vehicle screeched to a halt right at the entrance of the alley. Officers jumped out, following Bruno as he led them straight to the scene. For a moment, everything paused. The flashing red and blue lights illuminated the alley, the injured officer, and the soaked man kneeling beside her. But what froze the police force wasn't just the situation, it was the dog. Bruno stood beside Armin, chest heaving, eyes locked on the officers as if demanding them to act faster. And they did. Paramedics rushed in, taking over with precision and urgency. The officer was lifted onto a stretcher, oxygen mask placed over her face, her life hanging by seconds. Armin stepped back, his hands stained, his heart still racing. An officer approached him, questions ready, suspicion flickering in his eyes, but before he could say a word, another officer spoke up. "He didn't do this," the man said quietly, watching Bruno. "That dog brought us here." Silence followed. Heavy. Real. They all looked at Bruno again, as if seeing him for the first time, not just as a dog, but as something more. Something extraordinary. Hours later, Armand sat in the hospital corridor, his clothes still damp, Bruno resting quietly at his feet. He didn't know why he stayed. Maybe it was the unfinished feeling. Maybe it was the way her fragile breathing had haunted him. Or maybe it was because, deep down, he needed to believe that doing the right thing still mattered. A doctor finally stepped out. "She's alive," he said. 2 simple words. But they carried everything. Relief washed over Armand, so powerful it almost broke him. He closed his eyes, exhaling a breath he didn't realize he had been holding all night. The officer would survive. Days later, the story spread. Not as a headline about crime or tragedy, but as a story of courage, instinct, and an unexpected hero. Bruno became known across the department, the dog who refused to walk away, who refused to stay silent when someone's life depended on it. And Armand, he went back to his life. Back to early mornings, school lunches, and quiet nights. But something had changed. Not just in the world around him, but inside him. He had stepped into fear, and chosen compassion. And somehow, that made all the difference. Before we reach the end, take a moment and comment, "Hero," if you believe even the smallest act of courage can change someone's life. Weeks later, there was a knock on Armand's door. When he opened it, the officer stood there, alive, healing, her arm bandaged, her eyes filled with something deeper than gratitude. She looked at Bruno first. Then at Armand. And in that silent moment, no words were needed. Because sometimes, the strongest stories aren't told, they're felt. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You never know who might need a reminder that even in the darkest moments, kindness still finds a way.